week 10. And now we need to kick the 12-week reef into gear with tank maintenance, some serious coral additions, and we'll discuss advanced coral placement techniques. Let's go. Video 9 was spent with Dr. Ikai T, adding 3 new fish, 2 yellow assessors, and a fire goby to complement our lazy lawnmower blenny. Things are going swimmingly. Most of our corals are banging, apart from our favorite red gonny at the top here. So let's see if we can't fix that later on in this video. Remember, the more corals you add, the more your reef scape may change. So repositioning corals and even rescaping is a very normal thing to do. Now that we're 10 weeks in and it's been 5 weeks since adding our first livestock, we're starting to see some changes, both beautiful and disgusting, which makes me think it's time to up our maintenance game. Certain elements can build up in an enclosed ecosystem, and the smaller the aquarium, the faster that happens. So maintenance is the key to stability. Generally, most aquarists will stick to a monthly maintenance plan, which includes jobs like cleaning the skimmer, doing water changes, testing your elements, replenishing additives, and some new terms that we haven't quite discussed yet that are pivotal to coral health and coral color: nitrates and phosphates, aka our nutrients. You may have already heard of these terms if you're into freshwater aquariums, but these levels are extremely important to know when you have a saltwater aquarium, as they directly correlate to algae growth. But what does algae growth have to do with coral color? Well, remember the word zooxanthellae from video 6? The stuff that makes your coral glow is actually an algae. Feed it too much, it'll turn brown and ugly. Feed it too little, it will bleach and it'll turn pale. Feed it just right though, and your aquarium will glow. Nitrates will rise with the biological load of your aquarium, which is the breakdown of fish and coral waste, while phosphates are the after effect of more organic waste, such as foods, contaminated RO water, and also fish waste. Both of these nutrients are easily controlled with a good skimmer, carbon, water changes, and even more natural methods such as a refugium. But let's do a more advanced video of that in the future. Now, I'd love to get my hands wet right now, but it's actually Angry Steve's birthday party, and we're running late to his party. Why is there no lights on in here? Thought this was the right place. Hello? There's no one in here.
Where's Steve?
Oh, you're here for Steve's party.
Yeah, you too?
Yeah, I mean...
I think we've got the wrong spot.
I think you're right. Well, how do you know Steve?
Well, I'm Cam the fish guy. I do aquarium maintenance.
Cam the fish guy, I've seen your stuff.
Yeah.
You do aquarium maintenance. Well, I don't know where Steve's party is, and I've got a reef tank.
You got a reef tank?
I do, and it desperately needs maintenance.
Well, I would love to help you out.
Yeah? All right, what'd you get, Steve?
Fish food. What about you?
Fish food. So glad I bumped into you, dude.
Wow, this is an awesome tank.
Isn't it?
I love the choice of the X4. The corals are looking really good. You do have a little bit of diatomaceous algae.
Yeah, that's the ugly factor for me.
Well, I think I could help you with that.
Yeah?
Have you got any maintenance equipment?
Yeah, what sort of stuff do we need?
Well, we're gonna need a hose, a bucket, some RO water, some salt water, some test kits, and a scourer. In fact,
Okay.
I have a list.
Ah, perfect. All right, well, I know the exact minion that I need to give this to. Here we go.
Now, whenever we do a maintenance service on a tank like this, we always start with the testing. So let's get testing. Salinity 32 ppt. Calcium 360 ppm. Alkalinity 7.8 DKH.
It changed! It's amazing!
Magnesium 1140 ppm. Phosphate 0.02 ppm. Nitrate 2 ppm.
Anyways, so we've got our test results here. What are we actually looking at, dude?
We do have a few things that we can work on. So let's start with the salinity. So we have a salinity of 32 ppt. Now we'd really prefer it to be a little bit higher than that.
Yep.
And so that does affect some of the other levels. So the next level, calcium, 360 ppm, that is low. That is something we're going to have to look at. Our alkalinity of 7.8 is in range. So our alkalinity is looking pretty good, but this is one that is definitely concerning. The magnesium is very low. It's 1140 ppm. We definitely need to raise that one.
Right, so over the last couple of weeks, we've drip acclimated fish and corals into this tank. So we've taken a little bit of like water out of this tank.
Yep.
Could that be a reason why it's kind of...
The salinity is low, definitely. And when you take water out of a tank like this with an automatic top-up system, you have to ensure that you top back up with natural seawater.
Right, and our ATO is RO water.
That's right. The ATO has released water into the system, and so the salinity is low. The good news, the nutrients are great. We've got 0.02 ppm phosphate, and we've got 2 pm of nitrate. So what we can do to correct this is, I would suggest, a water change.
Good stuff. Actually, we need that gear. All right, that's for you.
Yeah.
And I reckon you're gonna need that as well.
Definitely.
Now, is that everything we're gonna need for the next step?
This is all the equipment that we'll need. However, we do need to start by turning off some of the equipment with the return pump,
Yep.
the wave maker, and the skimmer.
Okay, I'll get it started. Done, done, and done. They're all switched off. What's next?
Well, if you'd like to start with the algae, I'll take out about 10% of the water.
Why am I gonna scratch the back of this lightly?
So one of the things we're trying to do with a young tank is to promote coralline algae, and we want to remove the diatomaceous algae, but we want to ideally try and preserve any of the coralline algae which is starting to spot on the back. The coralline algae will look like little sort of pinky purple dots.
I can see what you're talking about, like these little...
There's a little bit of coralline spotting. So we want to do about 10%, so I'll probably do another half bucket again.
Is there a reason we're only taking out 10%?
Well, the parameters aren't too bad. We've got low nutrients, so we don't need to do this water change for the purpose of lowering our nutrients. We're really just helping to correct the calcium, KH, mag and the salinity a little bit, get it close to that 35 ppt range that we're looking for. It's important that you use your water out of your tank to clean your biological media so that you don't kill the good bacteria which is developing in that.
Yeah, I saw the sump earlier. It's looking pretty nasty. Where's the diatomaceous algae? Is it the brown stuff?
The diatomaceous algae is this brown sort of dustiness that's on the sand. It's a pretty normal thing to have in a young tank like this. You'll often go through some problem algae, and the diatomaceous algae isn't a particularly bad one, but this water change, as well as just running your fingers through the sand, is something that we can do to help to reduce the time that we have diatomaceous algae in the tank and on the substrate.
That is going to get the diatomaceous algae in the water column?
Correct. And then the skimmer will be able to pull it out. It will come back. There'll probably be more diatomaceous algae tomorrow even. So now the idea is that you're taking out the media basket and rinsing it in our old tank water and doing it in a way that you minimize the amount of splash on the ground.
A little bit gunk.
So that is of course bacterial silt. Bacteria is growing and breaking down the fish waste.
And we do that with each of the compartments. Would this now be the time to swap out this carbon?
Yeah, give it a squeeze out and chuck it. Not what I meant by chuck it.
So I'm just turning that inside out to hopefully get more.
That's the best way, yeah. And that's about right. You never get it back perfectly clean.
So it's never going to be white again.
So the last thing is the skimmer. I can pass you the skimmer cup too. And you can have the honor of that job.
I'm excited for this. What's that tube?
So that's actually a drain, and you are able to drain the cup out and leave the cup in position. It's a really good idea and it's really convenient. Today I think it's worthwhile us doing a full clean on the cup.
Oh, look at that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is nuts.
But when you consider the number of fish in here, that is a really good amount of skim. I think there's only 4 fish or so, so for it to pull out that much waste and for it to smell that bad, it's exactly what you want.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want.
Keep your hands dirty.
Oh, that fun. Yeah, well, oh man.
Now, this is where I often use that Gourer that you've got rather than your fingers.
That is gnarly. At least that comes back white. That's nice. Can I get like infections from that? Whoa.
Well, I wouldn't do it if you had cuts and stuff on your fingers, and I wouldn't recommend drinking it. Every now and then, maybe every 12 to 18 months, I'll do a full clean on the skimmer where I'll actually take it out and use citric acid to clean the pump and stuff. but certainly cleaning the cup like this is something that I would do maybe once a month.
But does that, like adding citric acid, that kind of strip bacteria, or is it not?
We're not relying on the skimmer to house large populations of bacteria, so it doesn't really matter as much. You definitely don't do that to your biological media. There we go. And so now we just have to put water back into the tank and turn everything back on.
That was gross, but it's done. So what's next?
Well, I can dump that for you. And whilst I'm doing that, here's some natural seawater. You can use that to top the tank back up. I'll be back in a sec.
All right.
What are you doing? What are you doing? I've got a much better way. Let me show you how you do it. You get a step ladder. You put your water on the step ladder. You get a hose. This goes in here. You suck on this.
Okay.
And aim it into there. And now we turn on our return pump. We can do it the whole tank this way if we choose.
Genius. I don't want to suck it again.
Well, it's important to properly purge your hose. Well, you can turn the skimmer and the wave maker back on, and then that is our water change done. Whilst we're down here, let's talk about the dosing pump. So the carbonate, the first part here, that needs to be topped up. We have 2.75 litres that can go into there, but we also need to make an adjustment to the levels that the doser is dosing of these supplements into the tank.
All right, so we'll do that through the app.
And what we'll also do, given that they are quite low, we'll also do a manual dose of the calcium and the magnesium, just to bump it up a little bit, getting closer to our safe, the range that we're looking for. Oh, you're gonna need a knife for that.
Nah.
I would normally have a Leatherman on me, but they didn't let me take it on the airplane. It's very important to ensure that you don't let your supplements run out. The calcium, KH, and magnesium are critical for the stony corals in particular in the tank, but also one of the beautiful things about this range is that each of these supplements also have the trace elements that your corals really require. And hopefully we'll be back in range in the next week or so.
Gotcha. So do you know, just kind of off by heart at this stage, how much we should dose by looking at the...
Typically, I'll just increase a small amount and then I'll test again. And that's the key, testing the levels so you know how much your tank and exactly where your tank is at with the levels. There's one other thing we need to do whilst we're down here, and that is put in the new carbon.
And this is the stuff that you can just pop straight in.
Yeah, don't need to rinse it, just chuck it straight in.
There she goes.